Hello, 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 everybody. How are you? How are you? How are you? I am Kenneth Overton, your host of Black Opera Live, which is sponsored by Black Opera Productions LLC, that is producing the upcoming documentary Black Opera. I am so excited to be here with you on this January the 25th in the year of our Lord 2021. And guess what, y'all? This is the first show with a new administration. I am so excited that President Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. and Madame Kamala DeVie Harris are appointed, inaugurated, and fast at work. I am so grateful. But thank you all for joining me on another episode. And this episode I am so excited about because there are 6 incredible Black women that are beautiful, that are talented and gifted and outrageously intelligent, and that hold the distinction of doctor. And I am so honored that they are all here to join me. And the wonderful thing about this is that I could do this panel like 2 or 3 more times because there are so many incredible Black women that hold this prestigious achievement. But these 6 right here, I just love them all. They're just so fantastic. And I will tell you a little bit about them in just a second. But there are a few announcements that I wanted to get out that are so exciting in the world of Black opera and Black music and Black singers. First, I am so happy to know that the Metropolitan Opera has just named a new chief diversity officer in a fantastic Black woman named Marcia Sells. Marcia Sells is a former dancer who became an assistant district attorney in Brooklyn and the dean of students at Harvard Law School. A dancer, a district attorney, and dean of students at Harvard. And she's been hired to be the chief diversity officer of the largest performing arts institution in these United States of America. I am so happy and proud of her and wish her well on this journey. And congratulations to the Metropolitan Opera for making such a wonderful and important and necessary appointment in Marcia Sells. The second thing I'm so proud about is my friend and brother, Russell Thomas. Russell Thomas is now the new artist in residence for the Los Angeles Opera. And he will hold that position until the 2023-24 season. And in addition to being on the administrative staff, he will continue to sing at least one leading role a year on the main stage at Los Angeles Opera. And there are 2 extremely important roles and initiatives that he is starting in this position. One is he's starting the Russell Thomas Young Artist Training Program, and that is for public high school students from underserved communities. He'll be teaching them voice and training them and gearing them up for a possible career in opera. That is, for me, so incredibly fantastic. And the other one I'm also extremely passionate about as well. It is a virtual training program for singers, current and recent graduates of historically Black colleges and universities. I am so proud of Russell Thomas because he walks the talk. In addition to being a great singer, an incredible teacher, a wonderful artist, the company and the community are going to do nothing but thrive under this new appointment. So congratulations to Russell and big ups to LA Opera for doing a wonderful thing for all of us. I'm so excited. And for more information about Russell and his appointment, you can go to Los Angeles Opera's website, which is now at the bottom of your screen. And then the third announcement is about Afton Battle, who is, as we know, the new general director of the Fort Worth Opera, only the second Black woman in history to hold a position of sorts in American operatic arts. On February the 21st at 2 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Central Time on February 21st, she and the company are producing a night of Black excellence, past, present, and future. And you can go to the website, which is now on your screen, to get tickets for this. It is a virtual gala. But it will not be shown past the date that it actually airs. So you need to see it when it happens. So go and get your tickets. It is going to be a fantastic concert. And let me tell you a little bit about it. Scheduled performers include Patrice P. Eaton, Nicole Heaston Lane, Cameo Humes, Kieran Jackson, Nagwanda Nobles, Siobhan Perkins, Adam Richardson, Andra Clark, Karen Slack, Takesha Miche, Kizart Thomas, Darius Thomas, Kevin Thompson, Gerald Williams, and our cover girl, Miss LaTanya Moore. Please go out and get this opera news and support our sister on the cover. LaTanya Moore will be on the program, and yours truly. Yes, I will be singing on the Night of Black Excellence for Fort Worth Opera, February the 21st at 2 p.m. Central. Go check out the website to see how you can get tickets. Congratulations to Afton, and I look forward to sharing that concert with you. And I'll remind you on every Black Opera episode from now until the concert happens. Now on to our special guest. Mercy. I feel just 50,000 times smarter just being surrounded by these amazing Black women. And I need a voice lesson from all of them because they're fabulous teachers as well as singers. First, Sequina Dubose. On the concert stage, Sequina Dubose has appeared throughout the Czech Republic, Bermuda, Martinique, and Paris. Most notably, she has performed as a soloist and ensemble member with Kathleen Battle in The Underground Railroad, A Spiritual Journey. It was a concert series and tour which culminated in a performance at the Metropolitan Opera with Kathleen Battle. She has also appeared as a soloist and ensemble member in 2 separate national tours with famed trumpeter Wynton Marsalis and the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra, performing Marsalis's works All Rise with the Morgan State University Choir and the Abyssinian Mass with Chorale Le Chateau under the direction of my brother, Mr. Damian Sneed. In 2018-19, Dr. Dubose created the role of Philomena in the world premiere of Nightingale and the Tower, an electronic chamber opera commissioned by Ojai Arts Council Commission for Ojai Youth Opera Company. The pioneering new work from groundbreaking classical composer Jason Troiting and Grammy Award-winning musician Mikael Jorgensen. It combines orchestra, synthesizers, and earth harp. She also performed as soprano soloist in the world premiere of Mark Lewis's Elegy in Memoriam of the Emmanuel Nine, a work honoring the victims of the 2015 Charleston church shooting. I am so happy and excited that my sister Sequina is here in the house tonight. Next, Gerald Cunningham, soprano, baby, my good sister. Gerald Cunningham's vocal artistry has been heard in more than 10 countries and on 4 different continents. Her versatile and vibrant voice, paired with her fervent advocacy of African-American music, makes her a favorite soloist for leading ensembles, including the Alvin Ailey's Revelations, the Boys Choir of Harlem, and the American Spiritual Ensemble, and prestigious venues including the United Nations, Lincoln Center, and Carnegie Hall. Dr. Cunningham's repertoire encompasses opera, oratorio, choral masterworks, jazz, and art song. But interpretation of the African-American spiritual is a high point of her artistry, drawing on her rich heritage. Her debut CD, entitled Stand the Storm, Anthems, Hymns, and Spirituals of Faith and Hope, was released in 2016. And if you do not have it, you need to go and fix your life and get it. And we will let you know later in the program how you can secure your copy and support Dr. Cunningham's work. It is a beautiful CD. Dr. Everett McCorvey, producer of the new album and founder and music director of the American Spiritual Ensemble, is a champion of Gerald's artistry, asserting that Gerald is one of the true vocal artists of this generation. Her silvery soprano voice floats with great ease throughout all of the registers, and every song on her recording is a masterclass in vocal technique, legato singing, and skillful vocalism. Her album was a joy to produce and a joy to experience. Dr. Cunningham is a regular soloist and assistant director with the American Spiritual Ensemble that performs classic spirituals, opera, jazz, and Broadway. I am so glad my sister Gerald is here. Welcome, 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 Gerald. Next, Marcia Porter, Doctor. Catch it, Doctor. Award-winning soprano Marcia Porter made her New York solo recital debut in Viol Recital Hall at Carnegie Hall in 2005. An active recitalist, the soprano has performed in numerous venues throughout the United States, Italy, Brazil, and the Czech Republic. Dr. Porter has sung at such prestigious international festivals such as the Prague Proms, the Piccolo Spoleto Festival, the Ravinia Festival, and the Ameropa International Chamber Music Festival. She has performed with such national and international organizations as the Czech National Symphony Orchestra, the San Antonio Symphony Orchestra, the Beijing International Symphony Orchestra, and the Camerata Filharmonica Bohema in Prague, Czech Republic. Dr. Porter has also performed with the Lyric Opera of Chicago, Opera Theater of St. Louis, the Chautauqua Opera, Dayton Opera, and Chicago Opera Theater. Critics have praised her as Ms. Porter performed so vibrantly that it seemed a shame to drop the curtain so quickly. Uniformly excellent in quality voice, vocally and physically attractive, assured and winsome, and Porter, whose lovely first vocal entrance nearly 45 minutes into the first act, was one of the highlights of the evening. Ms. Porter's discography includes the 2011 world premiere recording of the Requiem of Mozart, works for soprano and orchestra by Antonio Rossetti, which was released by the German record label Ars Produktion. Her 2013 solo recording, Open Thine Heart, a recording of contemporary American vocal works, which was released by Albany Records in the 2020 release of Romances and Poems by Sergei Ivanovich Taneyev on Centaur Records. And I will be sure to have her let you know where you can get all of those recordings. Welcome, Dr. Marcia. Next, we have Dr. Catch It, Laurie Celeste Hicks, singer, composer, vocal coach, clinician, professor, and arts administrator. Catch all of it, baby. She serves as the chair of humanities and performing arts at her alma mater, Kentucky State University. Dr. Hicks has moved audiences with her warm voice, magnetic personality, spiritual arrangements, and soulful compositions. Her training, research, and passion have allowed Dr. Hicks to embark upon numerous projects in the areas of Black music and African American repertoire. As the creator of the 5S vocal method, Dr. Hicks has presented numerous workshops and masterclasses on healthy singing techniques and exercises to singers and speakers of all ages, vocal styles, and skill sets, particularly in gospel and musical theater. Her lecture workshop, From the Black Church to the Opera Stage, transforming students from the gospel belt to the classical sound, presented at the 2008 National Association of Teachers of Singing, better known to us as NATS, the National Conference. Her recital series, Music of My Voice, a portrayal of the African American experience through classical music in stage, song, and spirit, is a multimedia presentation of songs and arias by Black composers, which continues to be performed at universities and churches all over. Her debut CD, Music of My Voice, released in 2014, is a collection of spirituals and songs, all composed, arranged, and performed by Dr. Hicks. And we will be sure to let you know how you, too, can have a copy of that. Welcome, my sister, Dr. Laurie Celeste Hicks, to the show. Next, Dr. Catch It, Angelique Clay, soprano, heralded, baby, heralded. Catch the word, heralded, not just celebrated, not just fabulous, but heralded. They herald royalty. Okay? Heralded for her soaring lyric soprano voice, Dr. Angelique Clay has garnered accolades for performances in the United States, Europe, and South America. Operatic roles include Fior di Ligi in Così fan tutte, Rosalinda in Die Fledermaus, the title role of Susanna in Carlisle Floyd's American drama Susanna, and Bess in Gershwin's Porgy and Bess. And I can attest to that because I had the distinct honor and pleasure of singing Porgy opposite her in Lexington, Kentucky. Dr. Clay's oratorial repertoire includes Handel's Messiah, Mendelssohn's Elijah, Brahms' Requiem, and Haydn's Lord Nelson Mass. Dr. Clay has recorded and toured as a featured soloist with the American Spiritual Ensemble throughout the United States, Spain, and Brazil. Dr. Clay has performed with international and regional orchestras such as the Slovak State Philharmonic, the Kosice Slovak Republic, the Symphonia Varsovia in Poland, the Cincinnati Orchestra, the Hilton Head Symphony Orchestra, Missouri Symphony Society, the Knoxville Symphony Orchestra, the Lexington Philharmonic, the Louisville Orchestra, and the Arcandiana Symphony Orchestra. Dr. Clay is in the process of completing a recording project entitled Songs for the People, Art Songs of African American Women Composers, to be released soon. She received her Doctor of Musical Arts degree from the University of Kentucky and is currently an associate professor of music at the University of Kentucky. Dr. Clay has students who are performing in opera houses throughout the United States, including the Metropolitan Opera, New York City Opera, Glimmerglass, Santa Fe, Chicago, Sarasota, and Des Moines. Welcome, Angelique, to the show, y'all. And last but certainly not least, Dr. Catch it, Louise Topping has received critical acclaim for her operatic, orchestral, and oratorial performances in the United States, Europe, Czech Republic, Sweden, Uruguay, Scotland, China, England, New Zealand, the Caribbean, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Bermuda, Japan, and Spain. I'm exhausted, and I know that passport is worn out, Louise. She has appeared in recital on many concert series, including Carnegie Hall, the Kennedy Center, Broadway's Hudson Theater, and Lincoln Center. Her most recent Lincoln Center appearance was in June as part of the Masters of the Spirituals program to honor composers Jacqueline Harrison, Roland Carter, and Lena McGlynn. And she was fabulous on that concert because why? I was on it with her and heard firsthand her singing and chirping on those spirituals, bringing joy to the folks. Represented by Joanne Ryle Artist Management, she toured in Gershwin on Broadway with pianist Leon Bates and currently tours in that show with the legendary Joseph Joubert and Robert Sims. She has recorded 18, catch it, I didn't say one, I didn't say 8. He said 18 compact discs, primarily American music, including solo CDs, Songs of Illumination on Centaur Records and on Albany Records, Ah But a Day, He'll Bring It to Pass with Joseph Joubert on piano, Witness with the Czech National Symphony, Heart on the Wall with the Prague Radio Symphony Orchestra, and La Sainte de Fleur, CDs with 3 publications, including All Hal Johnson's collection from Carl Fisher Publisher. Her newest release, due out in 2020, are Songs of Love and Justice and Summer, Life Songs, a 2 CD set for songs for soprano by the legendary, fantastic, incredible Adolphus Hailstork. I am so excited that she is here today, as well as all of my guests. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage all of these fabulous women. Dr. Laurie Celeste Hicks, Dr. Marcia Porter, Dr. Gerald Cunningham, Dr. Angelique Clay Everett, Dr. Sequina Dubose, and Dr. Louise Topping. Welcome, ladies, to the show. How are you? Oh my God. You can unmute yourself and talk to me. Oh my God, all these comments already. Thank you, my glass. Listen. Listen. Yes, bravo to the Met. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Good evening, everyone. How are you ladies doing?
Wonderful.
Doing well.
Oh my gosh, my gosh, my gosh, my gosh. I'm trying to catch up on all these comments. My goodness. Oh, wow, 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 wow. So first, let's start. Okay, I will go in the way that my screen looks to me. Dr. Laurie Celeste Hicks, Darling, will you please tell the folks where you grew up and how did classical music come into your life?
Well, hello. Thank you, Kenneth. And hello, ladies. Dr. Hicks here. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. I'm a Detroit girl. Went to Renaissance High School with Sequina, with Nina Scott. And I got into classical singing then in high school. I didn't want to. I wanted to sing nothing but gospel. And Nina Scott said, no, you're going to join this choir. She called my mother too. But even before that, my mother had us in piano lessons at age of 5. So I went on through Renaissance High School, and then I went to Kentucky State, where I am currently the department chair for undergrad. And Mr. Andrew Smith got a hold of me, as well as Miss Wilhelmina Fernandez Smith. So they got a hold of me there. And of course, the concert choir was world renowned. And we were under Dr. Carl Smith for the concert choir. And that helped me develop, of course, all my choral singing. But it really wasn't until I went for my master's at Bowling Green State with Myra Merritt where I really started to develop as a soloist and really develop my technique. And then, hi, Dwala. And then by the time I finished my master's, I was like, okay, I need some more time. I'm not ready. And so then I went on to the University of Michigan and studied with George Shirley and got my doctorate. I was 27 when I finished my doctorate. And then that was, yeah, then I did some programs. I did some singing in Italy and France, and the rest is, yeah. And then went right into teaching as well.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, same question to you, Dr. Marcia Porter. Welcome, my dear. Tell the folks where you grew up and how did the love of classical music come into your life?
So I am from New Orleans. I grew up there and went to an arts high school, New Orleans Center for the Creative Arts. I was a violinist for a long time. And even in high school, we had juries. And I will never forget one of my violin juries. So Dr. Ellis Marcellus was one of my teachers. And I remember Mr. Marcellus sitting at the jury table and, after I played and he pushed this box of Kleenex over to me, I said, why do I need Kleenex exactly, Mr. Marcellus? He says, well, because I'm going to suggest you find another instrument. I said, okay, well, I've been taking voice lessons. And so I started taking lessons in high school. I was a junior in high school at that point, had never sung in public. You couldn't have paid me to sing in public. I wasn't even in the church choir. And, just fell in love with it. And I think back to when I was a younger kid and my mom would come in my room, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I would be standing in the mirror singing into a brush, and making up all of these foreign languages and emoting all of this stuff. And I didn't know then that I was sowing the seeds for what I'd be doing now, and I saw my first opera in high school. It was La Boheme. And fell in love with it and, graduated. I thought actually I was going to study biomedical engineering in college and applied for biomedical engineering, got accepted to programs, worked 2 summers in a chemistry lab and thought, yeah, I don't think I want to do this. The first summer was just cleaning up the lab for the grad assistant. And the second summer, he actually trusted me to do some of the research for him. He was studying fireflies and the luciferase in fireflies. That's the little chemical that makes them light up. And I spent an entire summer working on that project, got it to work once, meaning I was able to replicate it once. And I thought, okay, this is not for me. I cannot do this. And ended up at Northwestern University, went there because there was a lake and I enjoy being by the water. Knew one person who'd studied with my teacher beforehand and thought, oh, okay, well, she sounds good. So I'll work with that lady, and worked with Kathleen Cowan at Northwestern and then Carmen Mehta. After I graduated with my master's, I spent some time singing at Lyric Opera of Chicago and started studying with a different teacher, Margaret Harshaw, who says, hey, Marcia, you know, Shirley Verrett is teaching at the University of Michigan. You should go work with her. I said, oh, really? Funny you should mention her. She's my cousin. You know, she's like, really? So I ended up studying with my cousin during my doctorate at the University of Michigan. And it was just a fabulous time, fabulous time.
That is incredible. You had a singing cousin like Madame Verrett, but you wasn't singing before. Wow, that's incredible. Incredible. Dr. Gerald, how are you, my love?
I am well. I'm good.
Please tell the folks where you're from and how you got involved into all of this.
Well, I am a native New Yorker, born and bred, raised, still living in New York. And so I guess I was first introduced to classical music, I would say, through the sacred art form through church.
Yeah.
And my church, a lot of the choirs sang different genres of music, especially a lot of those warhorse anthems. And, you know, when I was younger, my parents were in one of the choirs and they had to take me with them to rehearsal. So I just started absorbing all of this music. And while they were practicing, hi, Latoya! While they were practicing, I would say, oh, no, that's not the right note. I'm telling them, that was about 5. So, but little did I know that I was going to actually go into music. So I did take piano up until I was in high school. And then I attended LaGuardia High School, but before the 2 divisions came together. So I was at Music and Art, which was the Castle on the Hill up in around Harlem, around City College area. So that's where I went to high school. And then I went to Oakwood University. Well, it was Oakwood College at the time. And I knew I wanted to study music because I said, well, that's what I was going to do. And then one year, I think after my first year, or in the middle of my, near the end of my first year, I think Dr. Denizen suggested, he was like, I guess they were trying to put together a new program with music and nursing, and I was the guinea pig. And I don't even know why I agreed to do it, because I knew that I don't like death and dying, and I don't like the dealing with the blood. So why did I do that? But I always wanted to at least see what happened on that side. So clearly, it was not right for me.
Right.
Not right. But then I took like a 10-year hiatus before going back to school to take my master's. Because when I left Oakwood, when I finished, I was unsure of what I wanted to do. I mean, really unsure. And so I did all kinds of stuff. I worked at the Boys Choir of Harlem. I taught. I was like a vocal instructor there. Then I worked in the office. So I got a chance to see the artistic, the administrative side of a nonprofit. Yes. And I taught Kevin Miller. Kevin Miller was one of my students in 5th grade, because eventually I did teach at the school. And
now, see, Kevin, you didn't have to put the grade on there. Shady, nasty.
I know, right? I'm not, there's no shame. I'm cool.
And so, yeah, I do want to get into that a little bit later as to why, for all of you, in the pursuit of your doctorate, did you go straight through after your master's? And if you took time off before you did, what did you do during that time? And then why did you feel the necessary urge to pursue it? We'll talk about that a little later after I finish all the introductions. So now let's look to Dr. Angelique Clay. Everett is in the house, darling. How are you, sis?
I am wonderful. And I absolutely loved your introductions. You have so much charisma. And I've never heard biographies read with such exuberance before. It's really great. So So like Gerald, we both were raised Seventh-day Adventists and grew up in Adventist churches. And I consider myself to be very lucky because we not only grew up hearing gospel music, but we also heard anthems and operatic voices in the church.
Yeah.
And so that was probably my first exposure to opera.
And where did you grow up?
In Louisville, Kentucky. Right down the road, down the way. So I'm not very far from where I was born. So I actually started to get into classical music when I was in high school. I started taking voice lessons kind of arbitrarily because the minister of music at my church heard me sing gospel, which I was never very good at, and suggested to my dad that I take voice lessons. And so I started taking voice lessons, and it lasted for about 8 months because I had to pay for it. So it didn't last very long. And then I left it for a while. And so in my senior year in high school, my choral teacher, Larry Pittman, who's now deceased, pulled me aside. And I was a very shy young lady. People don't believe this now, but I was very quiet, very shy and introverted. And he pulled me aside and said, I want you to audition for this program, this summer program called Government School for the Arts. And he played me this aria. He said, can you sing this A flat to A flat? Da, 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 da. I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. No problem. And it was O'Meal by Bean O'Connell. So that was my first classical piece. Crazy. Wow. I had no business singing it. And he gave me a recording of Leontine Price, the goddess of all, singing that aria. And then he had other songs on there as well. So I started listening to everything that was on the CD, and I absolutely fell in love with her voice. And I said, now, if I could sing like this, of course, nobody can sing like her, but if I could sing like this, then, I would want to do this more than anything else in the world. Yeah. And so that was my exposure. And I went on and I got into the summer program, and that taught me that I could go on and have a career in music. And so I ended up going to Oakwood University. And I think by that time, Gerald, you were gone already. But I heard Gerald sing with the Lloyd Mallory Singers when I came to visit for high school. And I remember going, oh my God, how can she sing so many high notes? Her voice is so high. I was just so impressed. I mean, there were people like Brian McKnight there, and just, these people could sing, all of them. They could just sing. And so I wanted very much to be a part of that environment, that tradition of excellence in singing in all types, in all styles and genres. And so while I was there, I studied with Dr. Ginger Beasley, who produced a lot of great sopranos over the years. And then that was the start of my journey.
Fantastic. And one day I'm going to have to scientifically find out how it is that Oakwood University and Morgan State University consistently produce some of the best singers I know on the planet. Like, what is it? And Dr. Laura Ed Spellman, like all of my friends who study at those three places, they all could sing.
Yeah.
They all sing, all of them. I need to find out what that is. Yeah. Dr. Sequina, how are you, my love?
I'm wonderful.
It's so good to see your face. Tell us all about it. Where'd you grow up and how'd you get involved in all this?
So I'm from Detroit, Michigan, too. And Laurie and we went to high school together. And so I grew up hearing music in my home because my mother, I don't know how many people know this, pursued a gospel music career, and she recorded her own album. She started her own independent label. It was called New Era Records.
Yeah.
And we go around to the Gospel Music Workshop of America. And whenever she would have a melody in her ear, she would always carry around a trusty dusty recording device. She'd blank tape in there. And when a melody would hit her in the middle of the day, she'd sing into it. And when we got home, I would help her work out the harmonies. And that's how she would write. And so I grew up singing in the house and hearing my mother and singing in church choir. And I had an uncle who lived in the home who was really into rock and roll. And when I say rock, I mean like hard rock, like Metallica. you know, we heard blues and bluegrass and all kinds of music in the house. I grew up in a household with grandparents as well. So music was just always there. And I thought that, you know, that was just what people do. They sing in the house and they write
Right.
songs, and that's what you do. And so when I went to high school, I joined the choir. Really, it was kind of a fluke because I waited to the last minute to get my schedule done, and there were only 2 electives left, ROTC and choir. So I ended up in choir because I was like, ROTC is not for me. And Nina Scott was the choir director there, and Laurie and I both studied under her, and she had a huge influence on a whole generation of singers out of Detroit who are now in, you know, composers, teachers, and performers all over the world. But we used to go to her house for rehearsals for our small girls ensemble. And I remember I used to go over there with a blank tape, again, tapes, and I tell her my age, and I would go over there and I would put a blank tape in her. She had one of those radios where it had like, you could dub songs. And so I would go through her collection and I would just absorb all of the music. And that's how I started to get exposed to all kinds of music, really, but classical music was also a part of that. And we would also compete in the solo and ensemble festivals. And so through just kind of being exposed to classical repertoire through choir at school and through competing through the state and solo ensemble festivals, I figured, okay, music is something that I enjoy. Maybe I'll pursue this and become a music teacher. So I went to Morgan State University to study to become a music teacher. And part of what I think has been a big influence through Morgan State has been, one, Dr. Nathan Carter.
Yes, God.
His influence, I mean, just influenced a whole generation, several generations of singers, just being a consummate artist and someone who just demands perfection from the students there. When he was there, and Elizabeth Ridgway was the voice teacher for a lot of the folks that came out of Morgan State that are professional artists and teachers now. Kevin Short, Kishna Davis, you know, on and on and on. And so being at Morgan and studying voice for the first time formerly really was what made me feel like, oh, you know what? I think I want to perform. So then I went on and I was able to get in touch with Patricia Miller at George Mason University. So that's where I pursued my vocal performance master's. And then I said, okay, I guess, you know, artists are supposed to live in New York, so I should try to get to New York. And Patricia Miller put me in touch with Joan Patnode. And so through working with Joan is how I ended up at Manhattan School of Music, and that got me to New York. So after getting an artist diploma there, I just stayed in New York for about 10 years and pursued my artistry and my craft as a freelance artist. And then Dr. Everett McCorvey, just performing with the American Spiritual Ensemble and having him as a mentor is really what caused me to think about going back to school to get my doctorate. I didn't think I would ever go back to school. I was like,
listen, if you are in his presence for 5 minutes, he's going to try and convince you to go get a doctorate.
I refused it. It took about 5 years of convincing.
He's so funny.
I'm so glad that I did it, though. And so I went to University of Maryland in College Park and studied under Carmen Balthrop, who is just a god.
Legend.
And after working there with her and finishing that degree, I actually am the baby of the group. I just got my doctorate last year, 2019. And then I just did to a tenure track position. Praise Jesus. Because that does not happen. You know, it's not a guarantee. So I ended up at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and that's where I am I'm an assistant professor of classical and contemporary voice there. So
fantastic.
All the musical genres I was exposed to over the years kind of paid off because it kind of helped me to define my research area and niche, which is 21st century hybrid works and operas.
Wonderful. Oh, Finn, I love learning stuff about people that I already know. This is great. And last but not least, my lovely Louise is here. Dr. Topping, tell us about it, darling. Where you from and how'd you get involved in all of this?
Thank you. I will do that. But before I do, I want to say thank you so much, Kenneth, for all you have been doing in bringing Black opera together. And all these sessions are fantastic. And congratulations to Russell Thomas, Afton Battle, and Marcia Sells. I was so pleased to hear that all that's going on. I'm the elder statesman, I guess, on this call. And so my route is circuitous. It's not at all like anyone else's. I was born in Akron, Ohio, home of LeBron James as well.
Yes.
Before LeBron, thank you very much. So I was there first. But I grew up on the campus of Virginia State University, an HBCU in Virginia, and was surrounded by some of the most wonderful artists, including people like Undine Smith Moore was there.
Wow.
Friend. So that's the environment. So all the major folk were in Virginia at Virginia State at that time. People like George Shirley came through to do performances because it was the place they could perform. And Willis Patterson was also on the faculty at that time. So that's the environment. But I wanted to be a medical professional. And so I went to university with the thought that I would be a cardiologist.
Wow.
I learned to play. I was a child who naturally played the piano. My sister studied with Undine Moore, and I was taken to her lessons when I was a 4-year-old. And my parents said, the 4-year-old is practicing the piano more than the 9-year-old. Should she be taking lessons? And she said, no, just bring her to the lessons. So I learned everything Undine Moore taught her and went and practiced it. So when I got to college, I actually, while I was doing the medical courses, I was taking the music curriculum, but they would not let me double major. And so I had to, at the end, after talking to my father, he said, you will make a wonderful surgeon. You're making A's. You love the subject. You want to help people and heal them, but you should be a musician. And what a gift. What parent says, leave medicine and become a musician? And so I actually listened to my father. I graduated with a degree in piano, went on to Peabody Conservatory in piano and accompanying because I realized I liked the background. One of my classmates, some of you may know, was Victoria Livengood.
Oh, wow.
To play for people, Chandler Carter, who's the composer. That's who was in the class of 7 that graduated from UNC Chapel Hill at that time. Then I went on to Peabody, and someone heard me singing while I was accompanying. I was the coach at the prep opera, and at the age of 25, as I'm about to finish my master's, Phyllis Brynjolfsson, the head of the conservatory at Peabody, heard me singing and coaching and said, you should do a voice degree. I'd never had voice. So I began my journey as a singer at age 25 while I'm in conservatory and quite confused because I'd already made my New York debut as an accompanist for a violinist in Lincoln Center. And so that's when I began that journey. I studied for a year and a half, and she said, you're very shy. You need to study with George Shirley, who was my colleague at Maryland. So I was a school teacher. We'll talk about that later, but I was a school teacher and I traveled to Maryland. And it was because of George Shirley's belief in me and saying, no, you're really a singer. You're very shy, but you're really a singer. You need to go to Michigan. And I was his first doctoral student when he moved to Michigan.
Wow, what a story.
And I will say one other thing. My parents loved opera, loved music. I remember being a tiny child and seeing a recording of Leontine Price singing Aida. And my mom said I would just stare at this Black woman, because I'd see all their other albums, but there was a Black woman on this album. And I just found that fascinating, even though, it's almost like that was my prophetic moment. I was going to become a singer, because it was one of my favorite albums that she said I was walking around looking at this Black woman.
Wow, that's amazing. And, and Tim, Holly, you put a little smiley face on there, but I wanted to say something when you said that, you were going to be a cardiologist. There's something to it, because I think as singers, we are cardiologists.
Yeah.
We heal people's hearts. We bring joy to people's hearts, and people's hearts are made fuller and better by what we do. So we are wind instrument cardiologists. I love it. I absolutely love it. And for the audience out there, listen, I have had the distinct honor of sharing either the concert stage or the operatic stage with all of these women, all of them. And I just learned so much and am inspired by their artistry and their beauty, both on stage and off. And listen, as you know, on this show, we have receipts. I keep receipts in my bag. So prepare thyself for when I pull them out. Just know that they're coming. So back to Laurie, Dr. Hicks, darling. So your pursuit of the doctorate, tell the folks, what was it in you that decided this is what I want and need to do with my life? I need to get this degree, because it's not for everybody. Mainly me, because I don't like school. I really don't. I can't. I don't like writing papers. I don't like all of that. And had I not gone straight through from high school all the way to the end, I don't think I would have went back to get nothing. And so I definitely ain't going back to get no doctorate. Sorry, Everett. But I want you to tell the folks, what was it in you that made you decide to get it?
It really was, I knew I needed more time. I definitely wanted more time to study. And by the time I was doing my master's, it was just starting to click. Everything was starting to line up. And, you know, I felt like I was new to the repertoire. I was really getting into my voice. And it was like, I just need some more time. So I guess I'll go ahead and get the doctorate. So it wasn't like any profound, revelation. It was like, how can I continue to study? Yeah. And, have it paid for. I really wanted to go into composition. And then the voice took over. So I dropped composition. I was a double major in voice and composition. So I dropped composition because it was a lot. And then it just said, how can I continue to study and continue to hone the craft and, not have to worry about trying to live in New York and all these other things that can get in that way. And it was, well, go on and get your doctorate. And I only applied one place. I only applied to Michigan. And I just knew I wanted to study with George Shirley. I really wasn't looking around. That's where I'm going to be. It was a beautiful sunny day on my audition. It was God ordained. And and I remember him telling me I had scored the highest in the audition. So I definitely knew that was just where I needed to be. And finished.
And to give the folks some perspective, how long did it take you from start to finish?
10 years. Well, of the doctorate, it was 3 years. And it is a performance doctorate at Michigan. But I had gone straight through. I didn't take time off from school. Yeah, I did 5 years for music ed, and then the 2 years for the master's, and then went on. And I was a nerd too. I do enjoy school.
My head hurts, and that's after K through 12, and then 10 more.
Mm-hmm.
Mercy, God, have mercy, have mercy. Well, folks, I'm about to dig in my bag and pull out my first receipt of Dr. Laurie Celeste Hicks singing one of my most favorite arias, and I'm so glad you sent this aria because it is rarely done by Black women. Rarely done by Black women. And I think most recently, LaTanya Moore took on this role, and it was so great to see her in it as well. But this is the Salce Salce from Verdi's Otello. Beautiful, beautiful, Lord. Oh,
Crack days. That's back in the
my,
creek.
and look at all this, all these beautiful. Oh,
Oh, thank you.
yes, indeed.
And that's a program I actually do with Louise, George Shirley, Leona Mitchell. We do. Fred Peterbark puts on Black Pioneers of Opera.
Yeah.
He's been putting that on. It's been a while since we've done it, and that was the year that I had them bring it to. Hey, Lloyd, that was the year I had them bring it to Claflin University, where I was teaching at the time. Oh, fair Claflin. Yeah. Oh,
My
thank
goodness.
you, Patrick. Oh.
Beautifully done. Beautifully done. Hey, Kalista, how are you, sister?
Oh, we miss you, Callie. Hey, Kevin.
Kevin, we gotta get to work on Laurie's piece that she wrote that I gotta get in my throat right. We gotta get to work. So Marcia, darling, so tell us about the pursuit of your doctorate. What made you want to get it? Where did you get it? And then how long did it take to get it?
So let's see, it took me 4 years. I also went to the University of Michigan. And I told you a little earlier that I got there because of a private teacher I was working with, Margaret Harshaw. So after my master's at Northwestern, I took about 6 years off. And I sang with Lyric Opera of Chicago and did some young artist programs and almost annually arranged recitals for myself and was a Rotary Scholar and went to Italy for about 6 months and learned the language. And it was just after I returned from Italy that I'd gotten into Michigan. So let's see, the audition process, Howard Watkins played my audition.
Come on now. If you got an audition to be done, Howard's the one to play it, right?
I know, right? And I remember walking into the room going, oh my goodness, I don't remember any of this music. What am I doing here? Why am I here? Why am I here? You know? And I knew that I was related to Shirley Verrett, but she didn't know because her family left New Orleans when she was little. Mm-hmm. And so after I got into the program and was accepted, and, you know, I was only going to study with her, we had a meeting and I said, well, you know, I'm from New Orleans, and I told her about who my family was. She goes, oh, I remember your grandparents. I used to go to their house and have this Creole cream cheese and blah, 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 blah. So she told me all this stuff. So spending time with her during those 4 years was just amazing, just amazing. So once I got into the program, I had just come back from Italy. And one of the first things you have to do at Michigan is you have to do a language diagnostic, and you get to choose which language you want to do. So I said, okay, I'll do Italian. And I remember Martin Katz handed me the exam, and I read it. I said, oh, okay. And I did it in maybe a half hour, and I turned it in, and he goes, are you sure you want to turn that in? Sì, certo. He said, okay, you know, and I didn't have to do the language because I had literally just come back from Italy, you know. So I spent the 4 years doing the program, and it was a really wonderful experience for me. Many of my closest friends are, you know, UMich grads. My accompanist, who I worked with the entire time, we've been friends since then, and we've done so much work together. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful time. I didn't know that I wanted to do a doctorate. When I was going through school, I thought the master's was going to be it. And had it not been for Margaret Harshaw planting that little seed and saying, you know what, Marcia, why don't you do this? It will give you more time. It will give you, you know, more resources, a larger network of people, and who knows what you'll do with it afterwards, you know. And before I had even graduated from Michigan, it was actually like a month before graduation, I got a call from Florida State, where I'm teaching now. And they were looking for a faculty member. And I said, oh, well, I have to go through graduation. Oh, okay. So when is that? Oh, okay. Well, no, and then I'm going to do, well, the dean is going to be out for most of the summer. So, okay, you can come at this point. So, okay. So when I graduated from Michigan, I had the job down at Florida State. And
Wow.
I've been here. This is my 18th year now. Did I say that out loud? Yes.
Wow. Oh my God. You
Don't
look
do
like
any math, okay?
Oh my goodness. You don't look like you.
Don't do any math.
My good. Listen, I'm not adding up nothing because it's going to be very close to my number. So listen, your secret is safe with me. So Marcia, would you set up this beautiful song that you sent to me? Who's it by? What's it from? Let us know.
Okay, so this work, it's from Shostakovich's 7 songs by romances by Alexander Bloch. And this is the 5th song, and it's called Storm. And the song, I'll read just a portion of the poem here. You know, I printed it out. I'm such a nerd that way. But it says, "Oh, how wildly outside my window the savage tempest roars and rages. The scuttling storm clouds unleash the rain, and the wind howls as it fades. The night is dreadful. Oh, on such a night, I pity those bereft of shelter, and compassion drives me forth into the embrace of the chill and damp, to contest with the gloom and rain, sharing the fate of those who suffer. Oh, how wildly outside my window the wind rages as it wearies." And this is so it's the 5th song. And the really interesting thing about this group of songs is that it's set for soprano, cello, and piano, and each movement is a different accompaniment. So this movement is all 3 instruments together. And
Gotcha.
Previous movements was just violin, and then there's one with just piano, one with just cello. So it's Sturm und Drang.
Enjoy, everybody. Enjoy. That is some good stuff, baby. Oh my God. How many songs are in that cycle?
7.
7. That is fantastic.
That's like rock music for me, that one. I sit going.
Yes,
I like
indeed.
this.
I was in here jamming, baby. I love that. And another one of you all's comrades in the Doctor family, Dr. Tiffany Renee Jackson. Hey, sis. Kevin Short in the house. My goodness. My. Rock on. Exactly. That was beautifully done, Marcia. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And yes, you do feel the storm in that. That's fantastic. I love when music speaks like that. Incredible. See, and you inspiring divas. Divas and cover girls. Hey, Latanya, I got my copy of my magazine, girl. You looking fabulous. We love to see it. We love to see it. Get your copy, everybody. We love to see it. Hey, Pam, how are you? It's so good to see everybody. Dr. Gerald, my dear. Now, in your intro, you said you took quite a bit of time off. Did you say it was 10 years off? Okay, so you took 10 years off, and it took Laurie 10 from undergraduate to the completion of the doctorate. Wow. Talk to me about the moment you decided, okay, I need to go back and get this. And then where did you get it, and how long did it take you to get it?
Okay. So during the time that I was, my 10-year hiatus, I was studying privately with Dr. Linda Elliott.
Yes.
And so I had, I would say that she basically prepared me for grad school. So she lived on 85th Street, and every week I would go to my lessons, and I'd walk past Manus every week.
Uh-huh.
And little did I realize that I was going to be at that school working on my master's. So I did that program, and then after I finished my master's, I took another hiatus, about another 2 years. But then here's the crazy thing: how I got to the University of Kentucky was through Angela Brown.
Uh-huh.
Well, I should say through Everett McCorvey by way of Angela Brown. So Angela Brown comes to New York, and I had just gotten finished my degree, and I met her at a master class at Manus, and she was telling me how she had moved to New York and she was going to try the scene and stuff. And when she told me where she was living, I told her, "You too far. Why don't you come just stay with me?" So we ended up being roommates. And one year she was going on tour with the American Spiritual Ensemble, and Dr. McCorvey needed a soprano. But by the time I didn't get to go on the Spain trip, but she recommended me to cover her for the fall. So that's how I got to work with the American Spiritual Ensemble. But when I went into the first rehearsal, which was on the campus of the University of Kentucky, I walked through the door and the hair stood up on the back of my neck. And I said, "Oh, I need to be here."
Wow.
I looked at that as it was a sign from the Holy Spirit, because I had the same sensation when I went to Manus. I walked in the door, hair stood up on the back of my neck, and everything just kind of went smoothly.
Wow.
So I mentioned to Angelique, because that was the weekend we were kind of doing something together with ASE. And I said to Angelique, "I think I might want to come here." And she took me to the graduate school, dragged me, "Come on," and took me to the scholarship office and just loaded me with information. And I read all of that, and I said, "Yes, I'm going to do this." So I knew I was going to be back for the winter part of the tour. So I called Doc, and he told me when the auditions were being held, and they happened to be the same time that I was going to be there for tour. So I said, "Okay." I just went in on it. But I didn't. I never thought that I was going to get a doctorate. It was a lot like what Laurie and Marcia. You just needed more time. I felt like I needed more time. to discover my voice.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did, because what I discovered about my voice was that I was having a lot of issues with resonance because my tonsils were extremely large. So while I was there, I realized, so I discovered a lot about myself. I discovered a lot about my voice, but that's how I got there. And it felt like it took forever because it did take a long time for me. I know the rest of you all go, oh, it took me 3 years. No, it took about 12 years for me. And a lot of it was because, life happens. I got married. And then that meant that took me away for a period of time. So I got married, and I was intending to go back the semester after my marriage. And then I ended up going to Japan. I was touring, so I couldn't go straight back. So, with little breaks here and there, it took a while. But,
and I think it's important for people to know that nobody has the same sort of path, that everybody's path is different to a similar goal.
Yeah. So, and at one point I was like, oh, do I really want to do this? Because it really was a lot of work. And I didn't mind the work, but the whole idea of just trying to find something that you're passionate about, at least at the program that I was at, to do that paper.
Yeah.
But I'm so thankful I did it. I'm thankful that I stayed the course, because it said to me that that if I can do this, I could do anything.
Anything, darling. Anything.
If you could survive that track, then
So. That's fantastic. Fantastic. Well, Gerald, the notes that come out of you with such ease, it leaves me speechless all the time. And, we've toured together and we've done other concerts together. And I just sit there or stand there and marvel at what comes out of your mouth. And it comes out with the greatest of ease. And then it seems like you turn into another person when you're on stage. It's marvelous, marvelous, marvelous to see. And as you're one of my favorite girls. So I'm always trying to give you every job that come through my way. And from this next receipt, y'all will understand why. This needs no introduction. Girl, I know I better throw this shoe right at this screen, but this is a new computer. I don't want to break it. Girl, you better sing.
Thank you.
And then you turned it out in English too. Now, is it easier in English than it is in German?
No, it's not. It was easier in German.
Easier in German. And is that aria, which is the second aria, is that easier or harder than the first one?
It's actually easier than the first one. Mm-hmm.
Why? Tell us why.
It's because the tessitura just sits in that sweet space.
Yeah.
So once you're in that area, it's fine. That first aria, you're all over the place. You know, you're in the middle, and then you go up to the top. It's the first aria is a lot harder than the
yeah. Oh, hey, Markel, how are you, good sir? Hey, Dr. George.
Oh, Roderick.
Yes, back in October, I did a show with the male version of this panel with Dr. George and Dr. Albert Lee, Dr. Timothy Jones, and Dr. Carl DuPont on the show. So I had to, come back and do the ladies. And I was also told, there's Dr. Darrell Taylor and Dr. Robert Sims. It's all y'all smart singing folks out there. Yes, she does have star presence. You are absolutely right. Absolutely right. She's singing, and it's like she's sitting there doing her fingernails singing that thing. I just fantastic. So Angelique, darling, will you tell us, when was it that you realized that you wanted to get the doctorate? Where did you go to do it? How long did it take? What went into your decision-making process for it?
Well, believe it or not, I knew that I always wanted to get my doctorate from a very young age, but I thought it would be in education because I wanted to be a teacher. And then when I discovered music, then I wanted to be a music teacher. So my bachelor's degree was in music education. And then after I did my student teaching, I said, no, this is not for me. But I still want to teach, but I want to teach on a collegiate level. And so I knew in order to do that I would need to get a doctorate degree. And so like many people who have spoken today, I met a man named Dr. Everett McCorvey. And I met him I was doing the Met competition. This is right after I had my daughter. I had a child very young at 23, and I was a single parent for most of her life until she was about 17. I got married at 17 when she was 17. So I needed a place where both of us could grow, where she could, come with me. And that wasn't so far from home. And I looked at IU and I looked at UK. And at the time when I went away to college, UK didn't have a great program at all. It was nothing here. But while I was at Oakwood, they got Cliff Jackson and they got Everett McCorvey here. And so I met both of those two people on that year hiatus that I had between Oakwood and pursuing my master's.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to UK. I studied with Dr. McCorvey. I did my master's degree. And like many of you who have talked about, I was, like 26, 27, and I wasn't quite ready for the voice type that I had. And I wanted to continue to study. And since I knew I wanted to teach anyway, I knew I had this child that I was going to have to provide for. It was a no-brainer. So I stayed and I started working on my doctorate degree. And I got done with my coursework pretty easily. I was ABD like in 3 years. But it was after that took a long time. So I started teaching right out of the gate at Oakwood University. And I was there for 7 years. So I was young, like 30, my first teaching job. And I poured my soul into those students and into that program. And my doctorate, my paper, my last lecture recital, they all kind of took a back seat for a while. Until, maybe 5, I got that letter saying, if you don't finish, you're gonna have to start all over again. That exam all over again. And I was like, okay, maybe I need to finish this. So it took me about 6 years while I was teaching full time and trying to manage being a single parent and all those things to finish the paper. And our program is not like Michigan. Sounds like maybe I should have gone. Well, let me speak quiet. I loved my time at UK. It was wonderful, but getting out is sometimes a little bit more difficult. So I finally finished, and once I finished, I ended up, the UK had a position, and Dr. McCorvey said, you should apply. And I was like, you all aren't going to hire me. I just graduated last year with my doctorate degree, but I applied anyway, and I ended up getting the job, and I've been here ever since. So.
Fantastic. That is fantastic. Now, will you set up this song entitled Joy for us? I just found it so beautiful and so fantastic that I had to share it.
Oh, well, great. Well, this is from the composer Dorothy Rudd Moore.
Yeah.
Who is residing in Delaware now. She's 80 years old. And it's from a set of songs called Sonnets of Love, Rosebuds, and Death. There are 8 songs for high voice, violin, and piano. And so this is the second piece in there. And this is a very rough cut, by the way. This is unedited. This is going on my CD. So we'll just see how it goes.
Yes, indeed. It's fantastic. This is Joy by the one and only Dorothy Rudd Moore.
Joy shakes me like a wind that lifts a sail, like the roaring wind that blows through stalwart pines. It floods me like a sword on razor trees that flush with silver and green. I abandon myself to die. I sing. Too long have I walked a desolate way. Too long stumbled down a maze bewildered. Joy, joy, joy shakes me like the wind that lifts a sail, like the roaring wind I abandon myself to die.
Girl, ain't nothing rough about that. That's fabulous.
Thank you. You're very kind.
Oh my God. No, I tell the truth. I tell the truth here. You better sing, ma'am. That voice just pours out like chocolate molten lava gorgeousness.
Stop.
Listen. So tell us, what is the rest of the project about that this is going to eventually be on?
So these 8 songs are from this set are on there. I have a set of songs from Eurydice Osterman, who actually I did my dissertation on.
Yeah.
And I have a set of songs by Lena McLin.
Yes.
Who's a Chicago composer. I have those 3 pieces by Persephone Powell. So that's the title of my Songs for the People comes from one of the songs that's a part of Phyllis Wheatley's Garden, her set there. Beautiful pieces. And Irene Britton Smith has a set of songs by Paul Lawrence Dunbar. They're a set of 4 pieces. Yeah. And I'm doing those. And those are unpublished. Those are Louise and I kind of went back and forth about a month ago trying to find information on how to well, anyway. So, but they're wonderful pieces too, not sung enough. And I'm really excited about the project. It's just kind of taken a back burner because I was the chair of the voice area, and
wow,
it's hard to balance things sometimes. So I've got to get back on it.
Well, that thing sounds like it's ready for release tonight.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you.
So you need make sure you keep me posted on when that comes out, and we're gonna share it with the world.
Okay.
And your fantastic husband is here.
Oh, yes. Hey, D. Anthony Everett.
And I agree, Amira. No disclaimers when you're fabulous, baby.
Oh,
Just tell the truth.
Thank you, really.
Tell the truth. So fantastic. Oh, fantastic. Sequina, dear.
Yes.
How are you? So listen, why did you decide to go back and get this degree? And how long did it take you to get? Tell the folks, what was your path to it?
I'm just going to keep it real. I went back because I felt that I was not utilizing all of my gifts. That was that was a major factor. I started out when I initially went to college as an undergraduate, I wanted to be a music teacher.
Okay.
And teaching took kind of a back burner to performing when I was living in New York. I was singing and performing more often than I was teaching. I would teach between gigs as a long-term or short-term sub. And then I would go on the road with tours, or I would be singing and gigging all over the city, and that would be basically paying my bills.
Mm-hmm.
That was a major factor. The second factor was I was ready to leave New York and pursue something else. I felt that I was getting older. I wanted to be settled somewhere that was a little slower. And I just didn't see a future in New York City, just as a city. It was just too much going on, overstimulation, can't meet anybody. I was like, I just wanted to get out of the singer performer lifestyle. I was ready for a lifestyle shift.
Yeah.
And that was a second factor. The third factor was I felt I was curious about the voice, and there were things that I felt I didn't know well enough to feel secure in my own teaching. So I said, okay, who could I study with, and where could I go to learn more about the instrument itself? And so I decided to get my doctorate in vocal pedagogy instead of performance. I had these performance degrees, and I had, my basic music degree, and I had taught, but it was just kind of based on what I picked up and known from voice lessons. And I just wanted to kind of dig into anatomy and just get to understand the thing.
Yeah.
So I saw that, Dr. McCorvey pointed me in the direction of the vocal ped program at University of Maryland and of Carmen Balthrop. And when I had a lesson with her, it just clicked.
Yeah.
It's like the heavens opened up. This light that shone down on me, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is it." So I felt like I wanted to be able to teach the way she taught. It was just she has such a holistic approach. It was just mind, body, spirit, and so I wanted some of that. And so I said, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and move to Maryland, leave New York City. It was a tough choice. I've been in New York for about 10 years just performing. And it was time. And so that's what I did. I picked up and I left and subleased to my apartment. And, I'm actually selling it this year, finally.
Wow.
But, it's it's time. So, and, it's crazy because everything just kind of synced up the way it was supposed to after that. That's how I know it was the right choice. I mean, it was a 3-year program for me. And within that 3 years, there were a lot of shifts and changes in my life. But, I met a wonderful man. And
I remember our talks on various gigs about
like the icing on the cake, like I'm learning so much. I'm getting this degree. I feel confident in my teaching. My personal life is straightening itself out. And so, I just felt like everything lined up the way it was supposed to, because that was the decision that I was supposed to make. I prayed about it and God said, go. So that's what I did.
And we are so proud of you. Because those of you who don't know Sequina, you have to know. And I'm sure she gets it from her mama, who was on here earlier. Hey, Mama Dubose, how are you? That when she puts her mind to something, it just gets done. It just gets done. And he will inspire you to get your life together. I just adore you, and I'm so proud of you. Absolutely proud of you. So tell the folks about this piece that you sent to me, which I think is so fantastic. And the dress is outrageous. You know, I was just heaving.
Well, this piece is from A Scourge of Hyacinths by Tanya Leon. It's a piece that she adapted from a radio play written by Pulitzer Prize-winning Nigerian playwright Wole Soyinka. And the piece was commissioned by the Munich Biennial in I think don't start me to lying. Let me look up my little notes here. 1994. So basically, it's a story that's based on true events that occurred in 1984 when a military regime in Nigeria decided that they would put out a decree that anyone who was awaiting trial for past crimes would just be condemned to death.
Wow.
Just killed a bunch of folk.
Wow.
And this opera focuses on a man named Miguel Domingo, and his mother in this aria is pleading to the deity, to the Orisha Jemanja, because there are references to the hyacinths that are overgrown in the water. It's like a moat that surrounds the prison. And and throughout the entire opera, there are references to these hyacinths as kind of being obstacles to freedom. Tries to get through them, and a canoe has to turn back. They can't get through the hyacinths. So she's pleading to Jemanja because Jemanja is a water deity. And so she's asking Jemanja to please just clear the water and let my son get through this. Let him be free, be with him, be a protector. She's appealing to her God. And so, yeah. That's the piece. Oh, Jim, recorded by Dawn Upshaw for her World So Wide CD. So that's the only recording that I've heard of it. I'm planning to record it myself if I can get that permission.
Come on with the permission.
You're listening, Tanya.
Enjoy, everybody.
Under
Girl, I was entranced in a spell, in a full-on spell.
I love that piece. First time I heard it, I just was like, I have to learn that.
Well, you can tell that you love it. You sing it like you love it. Hey, Russell St. John, how are you, good sir?
Hey, David.
David. Yes, indeed. It's so engaging. Taiwan, what's going on? Listen, Kalista, the dress is everything. I was about to fashion that dress in a full-on suit for myself.
Don't sleep on your neighborhood strip malls. I got that at a mall, okay?
And the thing is, though, it's so well thought out, the full performance of it, not just the beautiful singing and the expressiveness of it, but you can tell that you thought about it from head to toe, because the hair is fabulous, the gown is fabulous, the colors are so appropriate for where you are and what's being said and done. And it's a lesson. It's a lesson for people. It's not just about singing pretty. It's the whole thing. The whole thing. And I'm so glad you shared that with me. I'd never heard this piece before. And we'll look forward to your recording of it. We're just going to put it out in the universe that Tanya's going to give you the rights to do it. And it's going to be done. Thank you, Eric Thomas. I agree. These ladies are absolutely outstanding. And listen, you call CBS or NBC or Netflix, and I'll do a show on there. I will do a show on there. Let it be as big as it can be, because all of these stories need to be told, not just the ones that the industry decides are important enough to tell. They're all valid. They're all beautiful. They're all fantastic. So, yes. Now, Louise, darling, tell us about when, where, and why you chose to go after this doctorate. I think you're muted. I can't hear you, baby.
Sorry about that. And again, my story is a little different in that I didn't, obviously intend to be a singer until I'm 25. And the words, what I didn't tell you is Phyllis Brynjolfsson said, "You're such a fabulous pianist. You should be a singer so that you can do a better job coaching singers." Mm-hmm. And she had been a pianist who was discovered by Gunther Schuller. So it was the right person at the, people are in your lives at the right time for the right reason. And I really am a firm believer of that. And had it not been Phyllis Brynjolfsson saying that at that moment, I probably would have continued my life as an accompanist and been really happy. But so I did that, started the second degree in voice. And I also started teaching K through 12 in Baltimore City. I enjoyed teaching kids. I taught music, and because of my medical background, I taught math. I taught 6th, 8th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade math as well, and really loved and enjoyed it. And when she sent me to George Shirley, it was with the idea of I needed to do more vocal study because I'd only had a year of it. And, even as a coach accompanist, I did like it. And I thought, well, I'll do this time with him. He's the one that said, you should apply for a doctorate. And I said, who is going to take me seriously after 1 year of vocal study? I'm a freshman. What in the world? And he too said the magic word. He said, I think you could win a full fellowship. I really fell out laughing, saying, somebody's going to pay me to come to school as a freshman to do a doctorate. Mr. Shirley, come on now. And so I applied to University of Maryland. My same dad said, you never apply to one school, apply to Michigan and Indiana. He knew they were good schools, even though he was a historian. He didn't know people. I applied to them because of him. The day I got my acceptance letter from Maryland, I said, Mr. Shirley, I got $10,000 full fellowship to Maryland. I'm set to go. And he said, wait a minute. I'll be back. This is Friday. I'll be back on Monday. Monday, he came back and said, University of Michigan hired me. And so I had gotten a full fellowship offer from both Michigan and Maryland, but Maryland was higher. So I was going to turn down Michigan. They looked at the things again and said there was a mistake. I actually had the highest incoming average and everything from Michigan. And so I was switched to a $10,000 fellowship, full ride to Michigan. So I had no aspirations to do a doctorate. I didn't even know what the heck I was doing. I thought I was still a medical person. It really did take a number of years for me to sort of wrap my brain around, wait, now I'm going to sing and compete with people who have had this as a dream and a vision. But once I got to Michigan, it still took many years beyond Michigan for me to really accept I'm a singer. But once I was there, Howard Watkins was my accompanist for my dissertation recital, which was on African American music. And my good friend Daryl Taylor, who was in my studio, said, seeing me do a recital of African American music is what inspired him, because he was behind me to do what we have done for our, basically our careers, being advocates for this repertoire. But it was a 5-year program. I had 5 years of funding and I finished in 3. And so all of those, Daryl and all my friends after said, you messed it up for the rest of us. They cut it to 3 because of you. Full 5 years of funding, but I thought, I need to just go on it. Why do I need 5 years? Let me just move on out of here and because I was older and I was like, let's get to life. And now I wish that I had gone ahead, taken all 5 years to really allow myself to grow as I should have as a singer, because then next thing I'm jumping in, trying to compete with people who had done apprentice programs and everything else. And I'm working with them. And so I had a lot of on-the-job training to do as a singer. So.
Well, you have more than made up for those 2 years that you didn't do with all of the work that you have done. And we're going to talk about that after this clip. Now, this clip you sent me when you said, well, yeah, I was sort of known for my high notes. And listen, I've heard you sing high notes before, but these ones in this clip, I was like, ma'am, you're going to have some explaining to do. So tell the folks what piece this is, where it's from and all of that.
Very quickly. So when I left Michigan, I went to North Carolina, and I coached though with Charlotte Holloman in Divas, one of my coaches, and she's the one that introduced me to Margaret Bonds, which I hope we'll talk about later, because that was a friend of hers. But she also introduced me to this aria, Die Vögel. She had lived in Germany and worked as a coloratura. And so she found this aria, Die Vögel, from the opera is Die Vögel. The title is Die Vögel. It's by Walter Braunfels. And I loved it and began to use it whenever I wanted to show people I could sing Zerbinetta. And instead of singing the 11-minute aria, I sang this one for about 3.5. Basically, this is the prologue. Die Vögel is about this nightingale. And there are 2 characters, Good Hope and Loyal Friend, that are humans. And they come in and they're disillusioned with the human race. And they come to find out how birds, they want to learn the bird way of nature and life and beauty. And so the Die Vögel, she talks to them and convinces them about how wonderful life can be. And then at the end of the opera, they leave, but they never forget what the bird brought them. This is the best known piece from the opera. I had one opportunity to actually see it. Spoleto did the entire opera, and this is literally right at the top of the show. She walks out and she starts singing high E flats and nonsense.
Mercy God. Well, enjoy, folks. I don't know how you do it, especially at the top of the show. So it's like you got to warm up at home before you get to the theater and be ready to go. That's how I felt about singing Largo a Factotum, because it's the first thing he sings. And I just said, you know what? It ain't worth it. I'm going to put this girl away. And ain't sang it since. Enjoy this, everybody. It's fantastic. Girl. My grandmama would say that stops on a dime and give you 10 cents change. That like bam, right in the middle. That was fantastic.
And thank you. And I was old when I sang.
Girl. But the voice is fresh and gorgeous as ever. My goodness, you should be doing Zerbinetta all over the world with that throat like that.
Oh, I did you.
Were you Riri Grist's long lost daughter that we didn't know about? Like, what's going on?
Riri Grist heard me sing, and that's how I met her. She heard me in a competition singing Zerbinetta and sent a note as soon as I was out of the finals. I got it to the semifinals. She said, "I want to see her 4 lesson now." I had that happen in a competition, and she sent the note, and that started the relationship. So yes, she has been a mentor and a person I've gone and worked with over the years. Yeah.
People are going nuts. Listen, that is just so incredibly fantastic. And so before I get to my next question and talking about all the fantastic things you all are working on, I wanted to let everybody know about next week's show. Next week's show is the beginning of Black History Month, the shortest month of the year, but we're going to maximize it and make it as great as we can. So on February 1st, next Monday at 7, as you all know, I love me some spirituals and I love choral music. I grew up singing in choirs and I still sing in choirs. And ain't no shame in singing in no choir, even singing opera all over the world. I'm going to tell you that today and tomorrow. So in between gigs, I sing at St. Patrick's Cathedral here in New York in their choir, or at my home church at Grace Baptist Church, or on tour with the American Spiritual Ensemble. And then I go back out full and ready to sing any other composer you ready to put in my face. But next week, we are celebrating 6 fantastic conductors as they pertain to conducting the choral spiritual. And so Dr. Everett McCorvey will be here. Dr. Jason Max Ferdinand from Oakwood will be here. Dr. Lloyd Mallory will be here. The fantastic Maestra Dawala Simmons Burke from Winston-Salem State University will be here. The Dr. Sean Elise White from Johnson C. Smith University will be here. And Dr. Brandon Waddles will be here. And we are going to celebrate the choral spiritual. And we're going to have a good old time ushering in what is going to be a fantastic Black History Month on Black Opera Live. And the rest of the guests for the rest of the month, y'all not even ready. I'm not going to tell y'all about it, but y'all not ready for it. So you got to tune in every week to find out who's going to be next. But February is on fire. And one of the guests in February is somebody that I have received the most private DMs and texts and phone calls about. Can you please have this person? Why haven't you had this person? Can you please have this person? This person needs to be on here. Okay, calm down. This person has a schedule and a life, and so do I. So we got to work it out. But we have worked it out. And they're going to be here. And y'all ain't ready. But I'm ready. All right. So can we talk about, because all of you are fantastic singers, we know, as has just been displayed. And we all know that to have the jobs that you have to be fantastic teachers. And so what has it been like teaching during this hideous time of COVID-19? How have you been handling your students? What is it like teaching virtually? Angelique, can you take that question? What's it been like? Unmute yourself.
Well, Kenny, I'm not going to lie to you. The transition was a little bit rough in the spring when, we were kind of thrown into it and we didn't know what was going, we didn't know if we were coming back, so I didn't have a microphone. I didn't have a keyboard. I didn't have anything. I'd never really taught online before. Maybe I'd done a little bit of FaceTime. So anyway, so the spring was rough. It was very rough. And I don't feel like I did my best teaching. But over the summer, I had an opportunity to research different programs besides Zoom and besides And besides, what else do we use? FaceTime or anything like, or Skype. So I started using Rock Out Loud, which is a great program. I've also used Zoom in combination with Clean Feed, which is an audio program. So I would use the video from Zoom and the audio from Clean Feed. And Clean Feed has phenomenal audio quality, almost like you're in the room with them. And so I played around with that all summer with my students. I got a MIDI keyboard, I got a camera, I got all this stuff. I did all this research. And so when I came back in the fall, I was ready for the folks. And actually the fall wasn't so bad. It's amazing how you can adapt to changes and make it work. I mean, my students still made progress for the most part. I mean, it wasn't like teaching in person. Let's not pretend like it is. Yeah. But I would say that everybody made progress and I felt like I was being effective. Okay. It is fatiguing being on Zoom all day, as we all know. Today I taught 6 lessons online. And so if I'm kind of fiddling, it's just because, you're tired at the end of the day. But you do what you have to do. You adapt, and it's been great. I mean, I've learned a new skill. Now I can teach people all over the country. So when my students who were all over the place say, Dr. Clay, I need a voice lesson, I can give it to them. It just gives you a little bit more flexibility. I think it's great. So
yeah. And Marcia, you've been teaching at Florida State for 18 years. What is the biggest difference between prior to March of 2020 and now in teaching?
A lot. So the background you see, it's my home, right? And for when we first went into this virtual kind of teaching mode, the students were looking at my home. Well, the problem is I have 2 kids and my boys are almost 15 and 12. And, boys, they like to roam around the house in their underwear. And, a few times I'm like, I'm in a lesson, back up, So I was able to do a virtual background that was of my studio. And when I first put the virtual background up, one of my students literally cried. And she said, oh my gosh, that is home. Thank you. That is home. Because they've been so used to being in this space, and a space that we have made very comfortable, very safe. And I have this big old wing chair. It's old, ratty, musty, and I said, no, I'm going to recover that. No, we like it. I'm like, okay. But, they sit down in the chair and I'm like, okay, depending on your body language and how long you're sitting there, I know whether or not we're singing today, and some just come and sit and just, put their heads back. And I just need a couple seconds before we sing. Okay, fine. And I feel like, some of my students in the fall really struggled. My graduate students, I taught a graduate vocal literature class in the fall, and I love it. It was the music, British composers, but I made sure to include Samuel Coleridge Taylor. I had some students, living British composer come, Shirley Thompson came to the class, so I was able to infuse, I talked about the Harlem Renaissance and all kinds of stuff in this class, right? But some of the grad students, after one class, this guy says, well, Dr. Porter, I really need to talk to you. I said, okay, fine. And he just broke down in tears. He's not my voice student, but he was in my lit class, and for me, the hardest thing is when my students need you and they need to just be in the space with you, and you can't be in that space.
Yeah.
Physically in that space. So for me, that's been the hardest part. Honestly, I didn't have brain space to figure out Clean Feed. I really wanted to, but both of my kids are also, doing virtual school. So that was another added thing for me. Like today, one of my sons had a nosebleed during a lesson. I'm like, I really need to just sign out for a second, check on my child. I'll be right back, And the thing that this virtual world has taught my students is to not be so dependent on me, to listen differently, In the fall, we had studio classes where we came together and watched videos of singers. We talked a lot about Dr. Topping and her research, and just being able to share information with them and talking to them about, well, how do you think she got that to work? What can you do? So it's been hard, but it has been a wonderful learning tool for the students to realize that they actually know more than they think they do, and to trust what they know.
Yeah.
So it's been I can't wait to get back to the room.
Yeah.
I told one of my students today, she has this great energy about her. And I said, I can tell by your body language what you're doing. I know you're standing on one foot and you're going to do this. She goes, I am. So I miss being in the room with them. But yeah.
Now, Gerald, your kids are younger. How is it dealing with high school age children in this time? Because, that's a whole different kind of a thing.
Yes, it is very challenging. I think that our students are struggling. They're struggling. Socially, they miss their friends. I had to have a talk with my class. We didn't even do any work because they were just, they needed to talk. They're missing that social interaction with their peers and also with their teachers. And so there are many of them that are struggling. But I did notice that the students who, because at one point at the beginning of the semester, we had a blended program. So there were some students who opted out of the blended program. So we had to make adjustments to our schedule so that we could accommodate those who were fully remote versus those who were on a hybrid. And I noticed that the students on the hybrid schedule were able to keep up with the assignments that I've assigned to them. And I think it just had something to do with them being able to go outside and being able to live and not feel like, oh, I'm just stuck in this bubble all the time. So, I mean, even now, parents are calling me, oh, my child, what am I going to do? It's frustrating. Even when I'm having lessons and the kids are required to sing in class, some of them, they just can't sing in the class because, oh, my father's on a conference call, I can't sing. Or I have to, or they're out in the street, with their parents or something. So it's hard, but I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I'm loving it because I don't have to say, stop talking. They could just mute themselves. And we could just go from there. I feel like I have more access to the students. I can set up a Zoom meeting with them at any time. And if they want to have that one-on-one, it's not the same as actually seeing them face to face physically.
Yeah.
But at least it's that. But then it's also challenging me to find other ways to diagnose what's going on.
Yeah.
Or to describe to them what kinds of sensations you should be feeling. Because if I talk, it's just different. I feel like my father when I have car trouble, and he's like, "Do you hear a sound that went?" It goes, and then I'm like, "Yeah, it did that. Okay, then check this. It's that. You need to fix this." And so that's what I'm discovering that I'm doing now. That's what I have to do.
Yeah.
And they're doing well. We just finished juries, and I would say we have about 90 students in our program.
Wow.
The 90, I would say on average, about 65% of them have passed the juries with a 90 or above.
That's great.
So So it means it is a lot of independent work for them as well. It means that.
And tell the folks what school this is and what it does.
Yes, I teach at the Professional Performing Arts School in New York City. It's actually a school that's smack dab in the middle of Broadway. All of the arts programs are run by professional arts programs. So we have a dance component. That's run by Alvin Ailey. The American Ballet Theater is also one of the arts partners that teaches ballet. I think the drama program is run by Rosie's Kids, or I think this musical theater by Rosie's Kids. And the classical vocal program is run by the National Chorale. So the National Chorale is a vendor to this particular school in the city, and it's a public school. It's a part of the Department of Education in New York City.
That's incredible. You know, Laurie, you've been doing something fantastic on Sunday mornings with folks, getting them ready, getting the throats and stuff ready. Tell the people what you're doing and how they can be a part of it and get some of that knowledge for those who are singing more than one genre of music and keeping the chords healthy to be able to do it all.
Well, Daniel says hi.
Hey, Daniel.
Yeah, I started actually in the pandemic. I started a business and started LCH Studios, and I have been giving workshops to gospel singers and folk of all kinds of genres for years, especially with the Hampton Ministers Conference, and that's what really got me started. So I'd kind of been doing these workshops here and there, kind of taking little tours, and then it developed into my own method. And then, I downloaded this app, Hoop Triggers, and I'm listening to the tracks, and I'm like, oh, that's a vocal exercise. So it just kind of developed from there. So I had always really been passionate about being able to give access to vocal technique, vocal warm-ups that, gospel singers and singers of other genres would enjoy doing, but still deliver that bel canto technique. And offer drills that they could do, in the style that they enjoy. So started doing those it was a couple months ago. And yeah, now it's a thing. And also giving online masterclasses. So I had actually been teaching online for years. Just, if I had to go somewhere and perform and I didn't feel like canceling the lesson, I'm like, we're going to keep your lesson and do it online. So I was no stranger to teaching online, but now holding master classes and being able to quickly give, instruction and tips to all kinds of singers. I'll have the whole gamut come to the master class. Really strengthened my skill set and really sharpened my skills and, being able to hear those things, even when Zoom cuts out and whatever, being able to see that. So I was just really excited and blessed to be able to tap into a different market. And as a department chair, I'm not teaching very much. And so, when the pandemic hit, it was extremely difficult. I was actually having health issues of my own and trying to manage, faculty and students. And like Gerald said, our students really struggled and continue to struggle because at an HBCU, there's a much different climate, much different atmosphere. And there's a lot more nurturing that goes on and needs to happen at an HBCU. So not being able to be there and give them the support that they glean from has been very difficult. But we got a great team and we're just taking it one day at a time. Lloyd Mallory is on the team, and everybody's making all the adjustments that we can, in spite of, not having enough funding for PPE and things like that. Just a lot more challenges that we tend to deal with.
Yeah.
So just finding our way, rallying together. Okay, what can we do? How can we support? And how can we just, get back to the love of music and get them through this time? So it's been extremely difficult.
Yeah.
And actually, I had to take some time off as well, with my son and getting him into his he has autism, so getting him into his therapies and dealing with that, and homeschooling, and I mean it was a lot on top of a lot, but
It's a full plate, girl.
yeah, but God provides. God does provide.
Yes, indeed.
Been taken care of. So I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot. I've grown closer to him. And just being able to rely on that faith and trust. So yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, Dr. Hicks is also an accomplished composer, and her music is fantastic. And I have the honor and privilege of recording one of her songs for a film project that I'm doing. So stay tuned for that, and make sure that you support her. And her website is right there on the ticker tape. So look up.
All my music is there. Yeah.
Her music is there, and follow her and support her. And so I'm grateful for you, sister.
I'm grateful.
I really am. I've had both you and Angelique have been best with me.
Yes.
So, Sequina, tell me about the fantastic Florence Price project that you're working on. Because listen, during this pandemic, or I would say just before, all of a sudden it seemed like Florence Price was the cool kid on the block. Like nobody had ever heard of her before. Nobody had ever done her music before. And now everybody is Florence Price crazy bananas. Tell the folks about what's going on with the project that you're involved with.
Yeah, so I'm serving as vice president of the board for the International Florence Price Festival, and it's an organization that just started in 2019. We are officially a 501c3, and we were supposed to have our inaugural gala in 2019, but it ended up happening in 2020 because of COVID. But it was still pretty well attended, and we were pretty excited about the fact that we were able to have our conference and have our festival virtually. And part of what we're doing now is we've initiated this price pledge. And what we're doing is we're developing relationships with universities, music festivals, music organizations, and competitions, and trying to make sure that they are diversifying their repertoire and holding them accountable for that, and making employment opportunities for ambassadors who will go in and do master classes and make sure that not only are they programming this music and listing this music as required repertoire or as suggested repertoire for their competitions and festivals and things, but also that they have access to performing teaching artists who can come in and help them know what is the performance practice, and what kinds of things do we need to be thinking about in incorporating this music. And we're also partnering with organizations like Orc Kids from the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, and working with our ambassadors, pairing them up with organizations like that, and just trying to basically help people to not only know about Florence Price, but to know about BIPOC and women composers in general, and start to hold them accountable for, how often they are programming and teaching and incorporating this music into their curriculum. So the Price Pledge is something where these organizations can come in and say, yes, we pledge to do X, Y, and Z. We have our ambassadors come in and hold them accountable for that. And then we can, post on our website, here are the groups that are participating in our Price Pledge. Don't you want to be with the cool kids?
Right.
So, that's work that we're doing.
Tell the folks what the website is for this project.
Well, our organization is pricefest.org. So you can just go,
pricefest.org. Make sure you go and check that out. I remember last year, the Harry T. Burleigh Society, run by Marty Slatton and Lynn Foote, they produced a concert that had Florence Price's Violin Concerto No. 2 with a Black female solo violinist, and it knocked me on my behind. It was so fabulous. It was so great. It could stand up to any sort of Rachmaninoff or Mahler or Beethoven symphony that you could put it in side by side. It's just incredible. And for all of you singers out there, you need to make sure that in your library you own the Florence Price 44 Art Songs and Spirituals Anthology. You just need to have it.
Yes.
You need to call Glenn Dower at Classical Vocal Reprints or whatever online music services that you have and purchase with your credit card, purchase that Florence Price anthology and get yourselves together and start singing that music.
Well, see, that's another issue is that, people don't feel like they have access to certain music because Wise Classical may not have it in print currently. And so part of also what we're doing is trying to work with the publisher to say, look at all of these organizations and studios that are desiring to program this work and try to use that as leverage to encourage them to make more of Price's pieces accessible, and also kind of use it as an avenue for research and interest to be garnered around other BIPOC composers and other women composers. And so and then we're also partnering with the Institute for Composer Diversity. And together we're going to be grading this repertoire so that, if I have a high school student, I need to figure out what can I program of this composer's work, that is appropriate for their level. Everything isn't, Florence Price has composed everything from teaching piano music all the way through to, advanced professional work. Yeah. So there are going to be professionals with our organization that work with Institute for Composer Diversity to make sure that there is a graded repertoire list that will be accessible for educators to know what's appropriate to incorporate into their curriculum.
Incredible. Now, Louise, you are the go-to woman for everything African-American music oriented. And I want you to tell the folks all about the African Diaspora Music Project and the Margaret Bonds Project that you're working on, as well as the George Shirley Vocal Scholarship Competition. Because, when I need something, I call Louise or I call Daryl Taylor or somebody tell me. You all are the go-to, but you have created an incredible resource that everybody needs to know about so that you can stop calling me and asking me, and you can do your own homework and find out everything that Louise is about to tell us.
Thank you. And also, we're all connected. I've done things with Price Fest, and I've done things with Marcia and Laurie, and all of us, and Angelique, we're all connected and all doing some really fine work. So this was a research tool. In my years as a singer, I decided that we needed to have a database that would begin to give us the repertoire that we needed. So we started with the 3,000 pieces in my personal collection. So this is what is right behind me in my house. That's what's in the database. And as we've begun to update it, and it's a database that gives you things like the ranges of every piece. We documented, everything's not in the database that we actually culled from the piece. We know who it was written to, why it was written. There's extra information, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to include that. But right now, you have basic information like dates, publisher, voice type, and the database works. I wish I could show it to you, but it works such that you can just type, if you don't know anything about African-American music, you can just type soprano, and everything that's in there by soprano starts populating the pages. Or if you know C4 is somewhere within your range, you just type in C4, you type in a poet like Langston Hughes, and you begin to. So we tried to make it as user-friendly. We've worked on this probably 15, 20 years to really think through how to make it most user-friendly. And it did start from my frustrations as I did presentations over the years of people saying they couldn't find the repertoire, didn't know where to start, and also realizing that it wasn't accessible. And so that's what this is about. We are excited that we are partnering and working with the American Symphony Orchestra League. We are getting ready to expand to add the orchestral repertoire. But my dear friend Tim Holly has already provided the cello repertoire. That's going to be going in. We're updating singers' repertoire. We're constantly culling and updating. We're not trying to take anything that anybody else is doing. We're trying to say, let's join together and become a site where people know where to come because there are so many. The issue right now is there's so much on the website, people don't know where to go. So we are trying to make sure that we are that voice to do that. As a part of doing that project, though, I began to see how much was not being published or had not been published. So as a part of it, during COVID, like my colleagues, I'm a teacher too, and like Angelique, I started using Clean Feed, and I had been teaching students actually out of the country. I taught in Ghana using my FaceTime for years. I've been doing that. So when things happened, I pivoted pretty quickly. But I also, like Marcia, spent the summer and really made it work and became more sophisticated about a lot of it. But I also said, okay, I've got 4 months at the University of Michigan now. That's the summer. What am I going to do? How about I start publishing the repertoire? So here is Margaret Bond's. It's 243 pages. It is her art songs, spirituals, music theater, and popular songs. It's about 57 songs. I am waiting for the last permission for 3 songs. It is the Dream Portraits in the High Key. Hal Leonard, if you're leaving, please finish this last permission. I've been working on this for 9 months to get these permissions. Langston Hughes had to give me permission, their foundation. This is a Carl Van Vechten photograph. I had to get their permission. I have permissioned everybody. I have paid for this. So we are keeping our fingers crossed with the last 3. It should not take very long. I got excited while I was also in COVID, and I did all of the soprano songs for Adolphus Hailstork. 4 volumes are out. The 5th one is ready, waiting for Martin Luther King Foundation. That's the last one. Anybody have ear into them? They're sick of me, but please give me this last, because that's another bunch of songs. These are all on classical vocal reprints. I've also been working on Undine Moore. That anthology is already typeset, should be coming out soon. We've worked on an African diaspora web anthology, because we realized, as a part of the George Shirley competition, having repertoire for college age singers specifically geared. So it's in several languages, and Scott Piper and I worked very carefully. It's another 59 songs that are coming out on that has some French, some one piece of yours, Marcia, that you introduced to me by Gomes is in there. The Irene Britton one is in there, Angelique. So I've been working diligently on those permissions. I'm down to about 2 to get that done. Thank you, Patrice. I know you're waiting on your Bonds book. Girl, I'm waiting too. So it has been a project of love. It's something I've worked on for a long time in terms of Bonds, because of my relationship with Charlotte Holloman, who just one day said, "You don't want some songs, do you, that are in my basement?" by my friend Margaret. And she didn't say who Margaret was. And there were 9 manuscripts of Margaret Bonds. And I recorded them 20 years ago, but I noticed my inbox continues to blow up for 20 years with people. But where do we find it? Where do we find it? It's here. It's here. It's coming. The last piece, really quickly, I know we're way over time, is the George Shirley competition. So Mr. Shirley talked to me years ago about wanting to do a competition. At 11 years ago. And I said, okay, I don't know how to start a competition, but we started it with Nina Scott in Detroit. All you Detroiters, Nina was the reason that we were able to get started, and moved from a high school competition with my $1,000, because I am a person that believes you don't have to necessarily wait to start something. You start by putting your money where your mouth is. And so I said, I can take $1,000 out of my paycheck and figure this out. So we started with the high schoolers. Oh, that's interesting. We started with our high schoolers, and we have now moved to pre-professional. And so we're from 14-year-old to 32-year-old. We're in 3 divisions. We have the diaspora. We have all sorts of repertoire. We have wonderful donors. Kenneth is our newest donor. I'm so proud to say he is giving us prizes for contemporary art song and contemporary spirituals. It is going to be virtual this year. I canceled last year out of safety. Because we're in May, we're going to do it virtually, but it's still going to be bad. The judges we have are incredible that are going to be listening to all of this repertoire. But it was our vision to make it is the first all African American repertoire. So it was to encourage people to sing this repertoire, to learn this repertoire all over the country. Our winners have come from all the major schools, conservatories, all the HBCUs. They're coming from everywhere and interested in this repertoire. In addition to the competition, though, we also teach. We do classes on spirituals, spirituals, art song, and other things. So when a student comes to our competition, it's not just about come and sing for your 15 minutes. It's about come and learn this repertoire, learn to embrace it. We had 6 master classes last year from artists. Marquita Lister, George Shirley always does a class. We have all sorts of people. Daryl Taylor did one, Robert Sims. We have all sorts of people that will do these classes. So that's among the things. The last initiative I will say, I'm doing conferences. I've been doing some annual, some of you have been on them at University of Michigan. I hope folk come when we can in person, because it is a place to talk about, learn about, and discuss the issues for African American music. And lastly, this summer, I'm the first director for a Singing Down the Barriers Institute at University of Michigan for 1 week, in which we have, again, opportunity to teach others how do you approach this music culturally. So we're inviting lots of people. Don't be surprised if you get a call from me. Anybody in this sphere, whether you're on the call, whether you're in the audience, take my call. Don't pretend you don't know me. Take the call and let's do some work.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me a part of it.
Absolutely. Listen, like I said at the beginning, I just feel 50,000 times smarter just being in the presence of all of you. Y'all are just fantastic to me. And I cannot believe I've had you all here for 2.5 hours. Like, it just flies by. But the wealth of knowledge and the brilliance and the beauty that you all emit across this screen is just incredible. And your stories and your paths and the things that you're working on are worthy to be told and absorbed by everybody that's listening. And first of all, I want to thank you all for being here. But for those of you who have CD projects that are out or are coming out, just take a second and tell us where we can find them and how we can get them to support you. So let's start with Gerald. How can we get Stand the Storm?
Well, Stand the Storm is available for download on iTunes. It's also available on Amazon. CD Baby. Well, is CD Baby still distributing things? But that's,
I think so.
Yeah.
And you can also, I think you can go to the American Spiritual Ensemble website as well.
The American Spiritual Ensemble website as well.
Fantastic. And Marcia, how can we get your CD projects?
You can get them all on Amazon. Let's see. Open Thine Heart is on Naxos. Oh, sorry, not Naxos. Albany. And also the Rossetti is available on Amazon. So they're all on Amazon. And the Russian CD is actually my good friend's CD from the University of Michigan. And I was one of the soloists on that. So all on Amazon.
Fantastic. And Angelique, you said you didn't have a release date. I can't hear you. Did you? Oh.
It just depends on me. So I hope this summer will be, realistically, that's a realistic time that I could. I'm still working on permissions and, like I said, editing and all that kind of thing. So hopefully by the summer. I've said that every summer, but I kind of got excited. You forced me to go back and listen to some of the things that I had been recording, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. So I'm excited about it again, and I am going to get in gear and get it done this summer.
Fantastic. And Louise, how can we get your CDs?
The two set Hailstork is going to come out separately. We're working on releasing one now. We actually got caught by COVID. The last 10 songs didn't get recorded of the second of the Hailstork. So we're going to have to wait until the pianist can fly. But the first one for sure, Songs of Love and Justice, should be coming out. And we're also waiting for Martin Luther King permission, because that's what the piece is with the orchestra that I did. And then there's a second CD that I'm doing. So one should be out in the summer. The second one, hopefully in the fall, we can get the pianist and finish it. The third CD that I've also already done, Daryl Taylor and I did a CD of duets for soprano and countertenor of African-American music. So we've already done it. And now that I've said that publicly, yes, I need to go ahead and get the editing done so that can come out. And that will also, these are Albany record releases.
Fantastic. And Laurie, how can we get yours?
Everything is on my website as drlauriehicks.com. Also, my CD is on iTunes and Spotify. It's just out there. And I also forgot that I am the vocal director for the Wiz CH in Clubhouse. So if you have Clubhouse, if you don't know, you got to look it up. But if you have Clubhouse, that'll be March 12th and 13th. And I'm the vocal director for that. Very exciting new opportunity. And that will also be a soundtrack coming out with that. So they'll have all the information with that. But check out thewizch.com for information on that. Wonderful cast. So all of my compositions are on my website, as well as music of my voice.
Fantastic. Y'all, I have enjoyed myself and learned so much from all of you. And I wish you all the best. Hey, Dr. Banks, how are you, sir? I wish you all the absolute best. And for everybody out there who's listening, if you missed any part of this, the interviews are always kept on our YouTube channel at Black Opera Productions. So you can go back and get any information that you may have missed, or on our Facebook page at Black Opera Film, or and then you can also visit our YouTube page at Black Opera Film as well. Hey, Roberta Laws is here. How are you, my love? It's so good to see you. But I am honored to know you all, and so glad that you took out this time to spend with me and all of the guests out there. You all are incredible and brilliant, and I wish you nothing but the best. So everybody, again, next week is February 1st, first day of Black History Month. Make sure you do something fantastic, starting with being here at 7 o'clock for the conductors of the choral spiritual. You don't want to miss that. But in the meantime, stay safe, wear your mask, please, wash your hands, stay away from folks and big crowds. Just behave and do what you're supposed to do so we can get out of this and continue with the business of educating and entertaining in the way that we know best. How about that? So congratulations again to the Biden and Harris team. Let's get it. Let's get it. Make sure y'all support them, and don't expect immediate miracles, even though Joe is whipping that pen around and doing and undoing just so brilliantly. And I'm so grateful. So take care, everybody. God bless and good night.
Good night.